have paid our taxes before, we are paying our taxes now, and we will go on paying our taxes. We're very honorable people, and I'm very proud to be my husband's wife. Very proud to be Mrs. Harry B. Helmsley.
The slogan read, "It's the only palace in the world where the Queen stands guard." The palace was the prestigious Helmsley Palace Hotel in New York City, and the Queen was the beautiful chief executive officer of the hotel chain, Leona Helmsley. But things haven't been going so well in the monarchy lately. It seems the Queen had a run-in with the IRS. In fact, she's spent over $20 million in legal fees and the better part of the last 5 years defending charges that she and her husband, Harry, evaded paying over $4 million in taxes. In court, ex-employees described her as ruthless and overbearing. And when the verdict came in, the Queen didn't fare too well. The judge gave her 4 years in prison and a fine of $7 million plus $2 million in restitution. She paid cash. As for the jail sentence, she is free on $25 million bail and appealing. She has become the object of headlines, the butt of jokes, and even the subject of a made-for-television movie called The Queen of Mean.
Keep moving. All right, keep moving.
Last week, Mrs. Helmsley collapsed outside a New York courtroom after losing yet another personal appeal. A federal judge told her she's scheduled to go to prison, ironically, on April 15th, income tax deadline day.
Coming up, we're going to learn more about the case that shook the palace guard, and we'll go to the Queen's penthouse overlooking Central Park for Leona Helmsley's first network interview since her conviction. Stay with us.
Leona Mindy Rosenthal, the daughter of a Polish immigrant, was born in New York City on the 4th of July, 1920. Her parents couldn't always afford to feed all 4 of their children, so at one point, Leona was sent to live with an aunt. After her father died of a heart attack, Leona dropped out of school to work as a fashion model. By the time she was 20, she was married and had a son, Jay Roberts. Even though Leona was married 3 times, Jay was her only child. He worked for the Helmsley hotel chain until he died of a heart attack at the age of 40. During the trial, the New York media reported that Jay had repeatedly stolen from the hotel chain. In 1972, she married property tycoon Harry Helmsley. Together, they ruled over a hotel and real estate empire worth more than $5 billion. In 1988, Leona was charged with 235 counts of tax evasion and fraud. Harry, however, had been declared mentally incompetent, and he was not charged.
So it's all a business expense. Not only do you not pay for anything, but it's a tax write-off.
Why not? Only the little people pay taxes, right?
The TV movie The Queen of Mean, starring Suzanne Pleshette, dramatized the heartless image that had been detailed in court.
Is this a personal call?
Yes.
You're fired.
On August 30th, 1989, a jury found Leona Helmsley guilty on 33 counts of tax evasion and filing false tax returns. Her case has now been taken over by celebrated attorney Alan Dershowitz, best known for his defense of Klaus von Bülow, which has been immortalized in the movie Reversal of Fortune.
The joke is over. We're talking about putting a 71-year-old woman with an ailing husband in jail. Enough is enough.
Last week in court, Dershowitz continued his plea and told the judge that Mrs. Helmsley has recently suffered 3 strokes and is too ill to go to prison. Dershowitz called the sentence a death penalty for both Mrs. Helmsley and her 82-year-old husband, Harry.
Coming up, we'll talk with the Queen herself. When you were modeling, you were, what, 14 years old, was it?
I started at 14 and a half.
How did you make the decision to drop out of high school?
It was the summertime, and the family needed the money. It wasn't a decision. I wanted to be a lawyer. Can you imagine?
Could have saved you some money, huh?
Well, that's a good one. But it was during the summertime, and I remember borrowing my sister's shoes. I was an inch too short to get good jobs. So I put pads in there, and I put lips on the shoes. I went for this job, and this woman said, "You come in." Tried on a dress. And he said, you're a little flat chested. I was 14 years old. I developed late. And I said, oh, otherwise I'd get the job. She said, yes. So I went down to Woolworth, and I bought cotton and a bra, and I stuffed it, and I went back. And she said, weren't you here before? And I said, no, but I have a twin sister. And she said, well, you're much prettier. And I got the job for $25 a week, which is a lot of money. It was during the summer, and they did not have air conditioning. So cotton kept coming out, because we were showing fall clothing. And all of a sudden, there I was in this dress hanging, and she said, you're fired. So I didn't go home and say I was fired. I took my smock, and I spent a dime and put it in the locker on the station, and Monday morning, I went out as though I was going to work. I got another job, a better job.
Did you think that you were going to go on to be a high fashion model for the rest of your life?
No, I got married. I married a lawyer.
At 19 years old?
At 19
That was
years
young.
old. I wasn't young for those days. It wasn't young. I had Jay at 20.
Your son?
Mm-hmm.
Tough to talk about him, isn't it?
If you've ever experienced losing a child, it leaves a hole forever. And what they did to my son, where they dragged him out of his grave, is the most vicious, cruel thing I ever heard of in my life. And they made a crook out of him. Beautiful young man.
There were some accusations or things that were printed in the tabloids and also in the New York papers that after your son died, that you became very ruthless to his wife.
What wife? She was married to him for 1 year. What is this? No, I did not leave her money. I did not like the way she treated my son.
I think what the papers were saying, both saying and implying, was that you was a grieving widow and you were going after her.
She was no grieving widow. She was no grieving widow. Yes, I went after her. She never cooked a meal. Which, that's fine if you accept it. We were there for Christmas, and we had a maid cooking. The ashes were falling into the lobster bisque or something like that. And it was served, and I kicked Harry. I said, don't eat it. You know? And I said to her, Jay doesn't look good. He doesn't look good. You know? She wanted to keep the house. That's what she wanted. And she had a boyfriend. So.
You think she killed your son?
Do I think so? Yes. I'm not God, but she didn't contribute to his welfare. Let me say that.
I want to know how and when you met Harry. You were selling real estate, right?
I wasn't selling real estate. I was the first one to do conversions of rentals to cooperatives at the time. They were in condominiums then. I was in business for myself and doing very well. And Harry Helmsley said, whoever she is, get her. He came over and said, why don't you go to work for me? I said, I told you couldn't afford me. He says, I'll give you a deal you can't refuse. And he gave me an interest in commercial property that was owned by the Fisher brothers on 68th Street and First Avenue. Everybody knew. I didn't love men. I loved buildings. Everybody knew I was in love with this building. He says, I'll buy it. I said, you will? He said, no, do it. And he said, would you date me? And I said, no. And he said, why not? I said, firstly, you're married. Secondly, you're a Quaker. And thirdly, you're my boss. And fourthly, I'm not stupid. So he said to me, I'm getting a divorce. I said, yeah, I know. He said, no, I'm getting a divorce. I said, swear with your eyes. He said, how do you do it? I said, he blinked 3 times. He's so cute. And we were married 6 months later. Harry's not a liar. Harry's a wonderful, wonderful man. He's the only happiness I have known in my entire life. real happiness. If he kisses me, it's like the first time. He's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful person. It's my house.
I'm curious, even before I got here, my question was, why do this interview? Why speak to us?
I was never permitted to talk before. I think the record has to be set straight. That's why I'm doing it.
Strong woman, isn't she?
I'm a strong woman because I have to be. You know, it's a great luxury to cry. I don't have that luxury. I've been alone this whole situation. My Harry is not well because of the whole thing. You took a man. I don't know if there will be another Harry Helmsley in this world, a man that is as brilliant as the standard and was. He built an empire. We employ 35,000 people get checks from because of the stand every single week.
How is, if I may ask, how is Harry doing?
I came home after the verdict was pronounced guilty. I walked in and I saw my husband crying. And I said, I never saw him cry. I said, what's the matter? He said, they're going to take you away from me. And what will I do without you? I need you to live. And I said, I promise we'll never be apart. The terrible thing they've done to this man, he's built the skyline. It's the charity this man has given. The taxes we have paid. Do you know that people think we did not pay taxes? We have paid our taxes before. We are paying our taxes now, and we will go on paying our taxes. We're very honorable people, and I'm very proud to be my husband's wife. Very proud to be Mrs. Harry B. Helmsley.
Did you pay all the taxes that you were supposed to pay, that the government said you were supposed to pay?
I'm not good at figures. I've never had anything to do with figures, but we never cheated on anything, in any shape, manner, or form, and nobody has ever. Did we steal somebody's money?
Well, the government says you stole theirs.
Did they prove it? How did they prove it?
The question is, did you avoid paying taxes?
How could I be avoiding? Yeah, you have 34 countries. 34 countries that the United States foreign aid for 1989. The 34 countries, the grand total was $41,673,000. I paid $60 million. That's more than 34 countries got in foreign aid from the United States of America.
One of the most famous quotes that's been repeated many, many times is a phrase that you allegedly uttered to one of your employees when you said, "We don't pay taxes, only the little people pay taxes." You say that?
Of course not. I sat down with a housemaid and said, let's have tea, or where was it? In the bedroom? What? And I said, you know, only the little people pay taxes. This makes sense to intelligent people. This story was concocted and contrived. And boy, did that make the newspapers. The little people. We paid close to $60 million that year. It isn't fair. It isn't fair. Of course, I look like the wicked witch. Let's say I'm the rotten boss. That isn't a crime. That's not a crime. They know I've done nothing criminal.
Do you think you were a rotten boss?
No, I don't think I'm a rotten boss. I only gave you a for instance. This is hypothetical. Ask anybody that works for me. I'm very generous to people. Very generous. What am I going to do with the money?
But you have to be a tough businesswoman to run a hotel or a chain of hotels.
I'm very tough. Out of 35,000 people, maybe I fired 20. And those that were fired either thought they were our partners, undeclared, they had their hand in the cookie jar, all right, or they just couldn't cut the mustard on the job. If I were a man, to say I'm a great executive, I'm a woman, I'm a tough businesswoman. What has that got to do? I'm running a business. When if something is too expensive, yes, I'll try to get it for less. What is wrong with that? If you have half a brain, well, you're tough. I don't know. I don't think I'm tough. I think I like what I do. I like to go in the kitchen to see that the kitchen is clean.
With white gloves on?
Of course not.
Why did they write that?
Well, it makes good copy, I guess.
Why do you think the city grew to truly hate Leona Helmsley so viciously?
The media. And there was a gag order. I did not answer. I should have been on the top of those stairs every day. Yes, and talking about it. I was not defended. No one defended me. I thought the truth would out, and that's it. I was naive. I never had a parking ticket in my life. I've never been in the courtroom in my life. I thought that's the way it worked. There wasn't one witness for me. When I asked about where are my witnesses, the answer from my attorney at the time was, please, we have already decided we will win on cross-examination. But I didn't see him cross-examine anybody either.
Given everything that's happened to you,
yes,
what do you think of the judicial system?
I have done nothing wrong. I got a $25 million bail. $25 million. There's a man in Milwaukee that chops up people and eats them. Revolting story. He got $1 million bail. But that was increased to $5 million when they found out that there were 7 more bodies that he did not declare.
Why do you think they set your bail so high?
I don't know. Maybe they think I'll take the Empire State Building or one of the hotels, put it in my pocket, and run Venezuela. I don't know.
Let me get back to the other thing about being in court. How come you didn't put people on the stand as character witnesses
I
for
just
you?
told you. I was just going to say, certainly there must be one person in this entire world that would say I'm a decent person. They didn't bring anyone in.
Why didn't you demand that your attorney do that?
I didn't know. I know the hotel business. I'm not a lawyer.
So if you had to grab some people to sit up there on the stand in open court now, you'd be able to have good character witnesses?
I don't think I'd be able to keep the mobs back. Here's letters from people. These are just from the appeal, all right? After the appeal was finalized. Well, this is from one of my employees in the hotel. I'm such a terrible boss. These letters here.
Well, here's one here that says, that closes by saying, please don't despair, Leona. The sun has a habit sometimes of shining at life's darkest moment. This makes you feel good.
But I haven't seen the daylight yet. It's dark.
Leona, have you thought about the fact that you may go to jail?
I will not go to jail. I will be with Harry. I promised him. I did nothing to go to jail.
You may have to go.
Won't go.
What will you do?
Please. I'll think about it when it comes to that.
You're not talking about taking your own life, are you?
I can't leave Harry. I cannot leave him. What have we done? Did we steal money from anyone? Never took a penny from anyone. We've overpaid on our taxes. What is this? No. The day that I found Harry crying, I promised him we'll never be apart. Never. He needs me, and I need him. I have no life without him.
That's all we have for you today, everybody. We hope you're going to join us in the days and weeks to come when we'll visit with more of your favorite celebrities, from music and sports to films and television. Until then, I'm John Tesh for One-on-One.
Three beauty queens who are fighting over the same crown, plus a woman whose mini got her thrown out of the mall. Coming up on the next Maury Povich Show.